The year was 1945, and World War II was becoming a do-or-die affair. Japan had no plans of surrendering despite the high death toll and constant outwitting by the US troops. Standing with nothing else to lose, Japanese soldiers staked their all and plotted a deadly attack that the opposing forces never saw coming in the Battle of Okinawa. What started as a mission to capture Hacksaw Ridge, a 400-foot-high jagged escarpment, ended in an unexpected bloody battle. But in the middle of the blood, dirt, and chaos, the US troops witnessed a physical miracle right in front of them. One man stood tall amid fierce gunfire while the others ran, and his name was Desmond Doss. As the Japanese troops emptied their bullets on any American soldiers they set their eyes on, Doss emptied himself in a mission to rescue his fellow soldiers, even without carrying a single weapon to protect himself. Who is this man, and how did he rescue 75 soldiers by himself in the heat of gunfire? Where did Desmond Doss get such mind-blowing courage from? This is the story of Hacksaw Ridge's unarmed hero. The 7th of February 1919 was a memorable day in Lynchburg, Virginia. Although the world did not know it then, a remarkable child was born on that day into a devout Seventh-day Adventist family. All the young Doss's parents had to offer him, aside from basic training, was well-grounded conditioning and religious values like empathy and compassion. No one knew that the young boy would wield these values and become a hero later in life, but the signs were always there. One time, young Doss heard about the urgent need for blood for an accident victim on a local radio station and walked 6 miles to donate his to this stranger. His compassionate spirit was deep-rooted, leading him to seek out ways to help whoever was in need, in whatever way. Unfortunately, the use of risky approaches to help people quickly evaporated from the young boy's mind when he watched his drunken father point a gun at his uncle after a small fight. There and then, Doss hated weapons and vowed to never touch or use them no matter the situation. However, this mindset would prove to be very costly when Doss came of age. At 18, Doss had groomed himself to be a physically strong man after working faithfully at a shipyard in Newport News, Virginia. This was when World War II struck. Moved to serve his fatherland, he enlisted to join the US Army. But how was he going to do that with his immense detest of weapons and taking lives? While Desmond Doss enjoyed an upbringing from his mother that armed him with all the values and strength needed to become fearless, he was still viewed as incomplete when he voiced his decision to join the US military. Reports from World War II screamed terror in its entirety. Who was this man asking to go into the battlefield without the use of arms? In no time, he was tagged as a conscientious objector, someone refusing to use weapons as he went to war. That was not all. Doss had a personal no-killing policy because of his religious beliefs in the commandment, "Thou shalt not kill." Because of his beliefs, the army saw no use in him and outrightly rejected him. But instead of walking away from military service at this point, Doss enlisted in the Army Medical Corps as a non-combatant. The Army sent him off to a rifle company, hoping that this would deter him from joining the military altogether. However, this did nothing to discourage the young lad who was bent on offering his support to the military, even if it was in an almost insignificant form. The US military did not know it then, but this adamant conscientious objector would prove to be a valuable part of the team eventually. For every rejection faced from the Army, Desmond Doss took his application to a higher rank. Tired of his persistence and stretched by the demands for assistance, the Army finally agreed to make Doss a medic. But the decision did not sit right with other soldiers in the training camp. Once Doss resumed his training session, he faced a series of taunts as fellow soldiers could not understand his reasons for not using weapons. To them, Desmond was weak and useless if he could not pick up a rifle. From receiving frequent insults that labeled him a weakling, to having his teammates beat him up and throw their shoes at him whenever he was seen praying, Doss's journey at the training camp tested the limits of his patient and resilient spirit. The ill treatment usually worsened during the weekends. Feeling cheated because of Doss's compulsory pass on Saturdays, the Sabbath day which he faithfully observed, the soldiers took out their anger on Doss. Nobody wanted to be friends with the religious, conscientious objector, as he could not protect them on the battlefield without a weapon. But rather than succumbing to the humiliating treatment from the soldiers, Das endured it all while staying true to his mission. He firmly believed that his contribution to his nation and his service to God was worth the challenges. But soon enough, everyone would see that Das was no weak and vulnerable man. The Hacksaw Ridge event would forever change the way the military saw the overzealous, conscientious objector. In late April 1945, the battle at the Okinawa-Maeda Escarpment was brewing underground. Already assigned to the 17th Infantry Division, 26-year-old Das, in the company of his teammates, received orders to capture the 400-foot-high escarpment, now known as the Hacksaw Ridge, from the Japanese troops. Standing on the lower part of the ridge, the soldiers had no idea that a major catastrophe awaited them on the plateau of that escarpment. Using cargo nets, the team embarked on a month-long campaign to get to the top of the cliff. But on the top of that cliff were thousands of heavily armed Japanese troops hiding in caves and holes, waiting for the entreating US troops, and soon enough, they struck. On the 5th of May 1945, Das was the only medic available to continue the task of capturing the ridge with the soldiers. The day was Saturday, Das's Sabbath, but he chose to join them regardless. They had no idea that the Japanese troops had prepared their biggest slaughter trap for the advancing US troops. In a split minute, the Japanese soldiers opened heavy fire and a concentrated level of artillery on the US soldiers, strong enough to cut men in half and cause deadly injuries. This massive attack forced the American soldiers to quickly withdraw and start moving back down the escarpment for fear of death. But one man did not join the retreating forces: Desmond Doss. While his team members fled down the cargo net to save their lives, Doss was the only one who remained to tend to the injured soldiers in the heat of fierce gunfire. Motivated by a sheer sense of duty and compassion, he crawled amid the rubble and treated the wounds of his brothers in war, after which he dragged them to the edge of the cliff and lowered them to safety through a rope. More than 12 hours, Doss rescued the soldiers, one by one. Reports say that after getting one man to safety, he prayed, "Dear God, let me get just one more man," before crawling back to the battlefield to rescue another soldier. By nightfall, Doss had treated and saved over 75 soldiers, including many from the cruel bunch who had regarded him as weak and useless during their training. But this was just a part of Doss's heroic acts. 2 weeks later, Doss tried to kick off a grenade thrown into a cave where he was treating his team members. In the process, he suffered a severe injury to his leg. As he was rushed off to the station for treatment, he saw another severely injured soldier and insisted that he take his spot on the stretcher. As he limped to the station, Doss was hit by a sniper that shattered his arm. But the determined medic did not give up. He immediately made a splint out of a rifle stock and kept limping till he reached the station and got treatment. At this point, no one could deny the fact this was a man who wore courage like a second skin. This was a man who deserved honor. The news about the brave Desmond Doss and his works spread like wildfire around the country. In October of the same year, Doss, the once mocked soldier, had the Medal of Honor, the highest award given to a soldier, presented to him by President Harry Truman. Through the following years in his career, Desmond Doss also received the Purple Heart Medal, Bronze Star Medal, and many others for his acts of valor at the Battle of the Hacksaw Ridge. Desmond Doss was the most unlikely man in the U.S. Army to become a hero. But in the face of horror, Doss proved his strength by single-handedly rescuing 75 soldiers at gunpoint and treating many others. His story is a lesson that, through a combination of determination, faith, and skill, individuals can protect other humans, even without the use of weapons.